just get cracking. Daniel, do you want to go first? You are up next on my screen, so.
Sure. So I'm Daniel. I'm working at Qualtrics in Dublin, and my journey since DCU was that I worked on, well, basically graduated. Then I worked at .lab at the DCU for a couple of months, and after that, I basically started to work at Qualtrics, and I'm a digital marketing specialist there for the DACH region. So I'm responsible for paid search, for website optimization, for different projects when we kind of find gaps in, like internally or externally that I work on, and yeah, paid social as well. And I'm in a team with SEO, so I basically was able to implement mainly all of the disciplines that I learned at DCU in my current job. Also, data analysis, Piangelo, very important.
Yeah, very well done on that one. You saved there in the corner. Right, thanks, Daniel. Aisling, do you want to go next? You're on mute.
Apologies, I'm on mute. Yeah, I'm Aisling. I only graduated there in 2020 from the Masters in Digital Marketing, and I began working a few months back in Hum, who are a retail payment plan facility. And I am the marketing coordinator there, which is quite an interesting and varied role. And yeah, I've been there since.
All right, thank you very much. Rob?
So yeah, like Aisling, I am a 2020 graduate, so graduated last September. And like Daniel mentioned, I worked for .lab just during like the time I finished there. And since September, I've been working for Safe Food, the government body for food safety and promotion. So I'm working on SEO, paid ads, social ads, and digital strategy. So yes, that's where I'm at.
All right, thanks, Rob. And then Khulud.
So I'm Khulud, and similar to Aisling and Rob, I graduated just there in 2020 from the Masters. And then after graduating, I was a freelancer for a couple of months while I was looking for a job. So I was a digital marketing freelancer, and then worked with Pierangelo and Theo in .lab, similar to Rob as well. And then for the past like 5 weeks, I'd say, I got a job with L'Oreal. So I've been working at L'Oreal as a PR and communications assistant. So that's that.
Okay, super. So guys, you have all successfully completed the master, and so can I ask you, out of all the things that you learned during the master, say, were they beneficial to you, and what was the most beneficial thing that you essentially got to apply in your industry role when you got a job? So I'm accepting a volunteer to go next to answer this question.
I'll go for that one. I guess how hands-on from the get-go the course was, getting straight in, working with clients. We had like an SEO client, we had a Google Ads client where I worked for Barrettstown, so we were working with a Google Ad grant. So you do experience of working with large budgets. And it was really, because it's so hands-on, you're straight out the gate, that when you're straight into the role, you can hit the ground running, being like, I know how to use these softwares. Here's like an SEO plan straight off the bat. Here's the analysis I've done. That it was really valuable to have that hands-on experience, to just be able to go straight in, knowing what you're doing, especially on the technical side of things.
All right. Aisling, do you want to go next?
Yeah, so very similar to Rob, like the hands-on experience working with clients was definitely the big thing that helped me a lot with my current role. So obviously in our masters, we had to create a digital marketing plan, and a lot of my job right now is creating digital marketing plans for social, for email marketing, as well as that kind of understanding how to work WordPress and everything like that, because often do have to go into the back end of the website in different areas to help with having a good understanding of SEO is always imperative, especially because in my role we're only a very small marketing team in Ireland, because there's only currently 2 of us, and then another person on e-commerce, which is 3. But so you kind of have quite a varied role, but it's quite good to have an understanding of all aspects of digital marketing, and kind of, as well as that, even I know in the future when we automate different systems, having a kind of a understanding of data analytics is quite important as well, and how to measure different performances of our campaigns and everything is very, very important.
All right, thanks, Daniel.
Sure. I couldn't pick one class or element, I would say. I feel like it's the entire program altogether. Like, as you guys mentioned, data is very important to us. So I need to back everything up in my job with data, either before or after. And at the moment, I'm working on a project where, for example, I need to do user tests. So I'm doing user tests again, which I did in the course that I learned. Like, I learned how to do that. So it's a combination of everything together for me that makes it so valuable. And yeah, that's what I couldn't pick one. And also,
Yeah,
it depends very much of the role. Like, I know that people that study with me are working in SEO now, and they learned SEO basically in the course, and they're like masters in it now. They know everything about it. So it depends very much of your role as well. But like the course prepares you for everything.
Well, I think you touched there on a very interesting point because a very interesting characteristic of our master, which is it's very data driven, which doesn't mean that you have to become a data scientist to do it, but then it's always backing up everything that you do or every decision that you make in any project with evidence, being that numerical evidence or finding information from reputable sources. So that's very good to hear that essentially you got same experience. Essentially, it's valuable also when you get to work into the industry. I say probably particularly in a company like Qualtrics, where I think you definitely must be very data driven, given that that's what they sell. So, Claude, you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. So I think probably something that I did not think I would say, but one of the things that really helped me in my role now at L'Oreal is the data analytics class, which was probably one of the toughest classes for me at the time. But now a lot of what I do is we work with influencers, so I'm always doing data analytics on social media. I'm tracking everything that we're doing, but also what all of our competitors are doing. So I think that class really benefited me. But to go on from what Rob and Aisling were saying, you get exposed to so much throughout the course that when you're finished, you're so confident in all those areas. And I think that really benefited me before I even got a full-time job, was that I was able to just take the knowledge that I had and become a freelancer, which at the time was really beneficial for me because it was so hard in the market that we graduated into. Was such a difficult market at the time, with the pandemic and everything. So being able to just be a freelancer in my free time, I think that I was really, really grateful for those skills that I gained. I could just apply that. I took over social media for 2 different companies. I even ran Google Ads as well, which was, like Rob said, we did a whole project on that in the course. So I just kind of applied what I learned and became a freelancer. So I think that was something that I'm really, really grateful for from the course.
Right. Just let's say for the record that I didn't know that you were all answering, touching upon the analytics, how useful analytics is. But I'm glad to hear that. So then when you think about before applying for the program, say you just or right after applying, before starting, did you have a clear idea in mind which industry you want to go and work in, or did it just happen afterwards? So Daniel, do you want to take this one first?
Yeah, I didn't really have a clear idea. I applied for the course because I was working in traditional marketing before, and I was looking for new roles, and everything in marketing that was interesting to me was in digital. While during the course, I kind of developed an interest in pharma industry, but I didn't end up in pharma at the end. So when I say that I mean that I focused a lot on all the assignments that I had on pharma. So everything had something to do with pharma. But in the end, I ended up in tech, which kind of is a new thing that I want to do, or that I'm doing at the moment. So I didn't really know before what industry it should be, or it would be developed to the time.
All right. Claude, I kind of know your answer, but yeah, you want to go next?
Well, I always knew that I wanted to work in the beauty or fashion industry. But in particular, the area that always interested me was social media and everything to do with social media. But I think what made me do this course was I did my undergraduate in business studies in DCU, and then in final year you specialize in an area of business, and I specialized in marketing. But it was so it wasn't we didn't go deep into it because it was just a final year specialization. So I think from that, the bit that I was exposed to in my final year, I was yeah, I want to take this a step further. And then I think, as Aisling mentioned earlier, the whole digital side of it. Like I didn't want to do just a master's in marketing, like the digital aspect of it was super important as well. So I think that kind of made my decision to do the digital marketing master's.
Okay. Aisling?
Yeah, so kind of similar, like I did not read, like, well, similar to Daniel, I didn't really know the exact kind of industry I wanted to go into. However, I did have always an interest in marketing. I did my undergraduate in communications in DCU, and I think it was really on my year I was working in between my master's and my undergraduate. I kind of realized, oh, I kind of want to work in marketing, and this is kind of what I want to go into, especially with similar to Claude. I like the idea of social media, and I wanted to learn a bit more about that and how different ends are marketed. And yes, so I kind of was drawn to it. And also I'd asked previous students of the Masters in Digital Marketing, and who recommended the course to me because it was quite diverse, and it was, the diversity of subjects and everything in the course. And that was what drew me to this master's, and the reason why I applied.
Okay, thanks. Rob, what are your thoughts?
Yes, so like Aisling, I studied communications in DCU back a few years before Aisling, but so I come from like an arts and creative background as well. So everything for me was like I really had an interest in getting into content, content writing, SEO, email, social, that side of things. So it wasn't industry specific. I just knew that I really wanted to work in the content side of things.
Okay, super. So, can I stay on Ashley and Rob there for you on you for a second? Because one question that we tend to get quite often is around, say, I don't come from a business background or from a business degree, so we tend to have students coming from communication or related topics. So, what was the most challenging thing coming into an MSc like ours, which is very, very specialized and quite intense, starting from day one, essentially?
I think as well, one of my friends actually turned around to me back recently and was just like, oh, I can't go into marketing because I don't have maths or like any element of maths in my degree. And I was like, you don't need it. Like, I suppose the area that was the most initially when I was kind of going into the master's I was most apprehensive about was data analytics, because I was a bit nervous about that, kind of having no previous experience in my undergraduate. However, I didn't feel like at much of a disadvantage at all compared to other students at all. I kind of feel like the way it's taught is quite it's quite easy. Well, it's not, it's definitely one of the most challenging subjects in the like at the time in the masters, but it was, and you can get a grasp on it. And I don't think your background really makes it, once you put in the work, it shouldn't make that much of a difference. And I think as well as that, coming from a communications background, I was able to get a grasp of it. And I'm not the most data savvy, I don't think at the time. I wouldn't have thought myself as, but it definitely got a grasp on it quickly enough. And I think the way it's taught, you kind of get you understand the purposes as to why it's been used, and I think that kind of helps it. I think definitely coming from a communications background as well, you kind of think about different things differently. You think more about content, you think more creatively, and if anything, I think the fact that most of the students in the masters all came from different backgrounds. We had people from communications like myself and Rob, people from business backgrounds like Claude. We also had people from engineering and computing backgrounds. And I think that's what made it kind of very interesting, because everyone came in with different perspectives from their own undergraduates and was kind of bringing their own kind of perspectives into the course and different ways of thinking as well, which was quite interesting to see how every student kind of thought about different things in a different way. But I definitely think that your background should, like your academic background, doesn't really make much of a difference, because the course kind of covers everything quite well. And I think, you can definitely get a grasp on it, and you could, like, from any background.
All right, thanks. Rob, was your experience similar to Ashley's, or was it different?
Yeah, just to kind of echo what Aisling said, I think everyone has different strengths within, because there's such a diverse background within the course. I found I had to work a bit harder on the analytics side of things and on the strategy side of things, especially not coming from a business background. But I think once you're committed to putting in that extra bit of hard work, I never really felt at a disadvantage coming from a communications background, and I thought that could bring something different to the table or a different perspective.
Just adding on to what Rob said there, yeah, data analytics and strategy was definitely the two you had to work the hardest at. However, coming from the communications background, the advertising module was kind of the one where like, here we go, this is kind of our area. But like, yeah, once you put in the effort into the subjects, the modules that you might be less familiar with, you should be grand.
All right, thanks. And then another recurring question is regarding the Practicum project. So can you just give us a brief overview of what was your experience with the Practicum project, and if you thought it was beneficial for you when going for a job essentially and so on, or I mean, generally speaking, what was your overall experience? So Daniel, do you want to take this one first?
Yeah, sure.
I still remember you worked on a very niche product, didn't you?
Yeah, so it was an organic facial serum basically. And I actually bought it for my mother for this Christmas, which is for the product in the end. So we were a very diverse group, and we didn't really pick the group. It was like we just got together, and what was very important to me is like to work with people that are high performers basically. And we weren't only diverse in gender, age, or nationality or something. The performance, as we found out in the end, was very diverse as well. And that was like a tough thing for me, as I was the group leader, and I wanted to get a good grade in the end. And like we agreed basically on having a good grade in the end, but it didn't work out the way we wanted. So it was like tough to find like a way of balance of how to work together. And in the end, basically, people were working based on their performance. So people working on tasks that they can kind of finish in a good way, which was kind of the success factor for us in the end. We did a lot of data in there, which was amazing. I mastered R basically in the end. I was like super good in R. I forgot everything nowadays because I didn't practice for so long, and also Tableau. Like if I could choose again between a practicum or a thesis, I would go with the practicum, even if I doubted it for a long time, like while I was doing it. So I wouldn't say it was an easy time. It was like really tough, but it was worth it in the end. And I would do that again. Like I would choose the practicum again. I don't know about the others.
Great. Claude, do you want to go next?
First, I want to say, Daniel, your project sounds amazing. I would have loved to see him. But ours was quite different, where we had a client that wanted to launch a whole new product to the Irish market. So it was quite difficult, but it was interesting in the sense that like we were able to we like took the project from the beginning to the end. Like we did market research to see if he even had a market in Ireland for his product. And then like once we established that, we took it and like, you know, developed the website, all the marketing tools, integrated all of that stuff. So I think it was really good in that sense. Like we got exposed to like loads of different parts of like product development and like integrating our marketing touches like here and there. So I think it was like a really great project. And as well from that, like you said, Daniel, like I think what was really important is just like, which our group I think did quite well, was that we just kind of sat down and like identified who was good at what, and then they took the role. But of course, like we would help each other, but like we knew who to go to for like different elements of the projects. And that was really great. Even when like we had to switch to completely online, we still kind of kept that, like, you know, organizing like what times everyone was free, and just organizing, you know, who does what. Like just, I think organization in general, like just really communicating well with your team members on the practicum is really important if you want to, you know, get a good grade, like just to make sure that you're all aligned on the same goal. But I think overall it was a really, really great experience.
Thanks. Rob, what was your experience like?
Yeah, so we had an interesting one. As Claude mentioned, that the move to online happened during our studies. And so ours was a conference that was due to be held in Dublin in the summer of last year. And it was the challenge of moving that online, hosting online, and then doing all the marketing, email marketing, content, Google Ads for that event, which I think is really has become the future of events, and it's been great. So that was our project. It was definitely an interesting one. It was, as they mentioned, like a massive challenge to Practicum, but so practical, so hands-on, that it was just really, really great.
All right, thanks. Aisling?
Yeah, similar to Claude and Rob, like it's just such a hands-on project. And as well as that, you know, you have the academic end of it. So which the academic end of the project, which is like the write-up and everything like that, and kind of justifying your different your different activities throughout that. Also, because we moved online, coronavirus kind of broke out as we were doing the project, and I was part of a very international group. We had to really become very, very organized because one of our teammates is over back home in Taiwan, so we had to adjust to time differences. We also made sure to be organized on a project management system, which if you're working in marketing, like especially, it's such an important aspect to make sure everything gets marked off as done. Kind of monitoring everyone's activities as well, working on websites. Again, we were working for a hedging provider down the country, and obviously with the outbreak of COVID, he was based online mostly, but it was kind of promoting his business, creating a new website for him, and introducing kind of new ways as well. We also created was a customer management system as well, which was very, very interesting. So I think it was just kind of getting an understanding of different areas that we wouldn't have gotten understanding of, or that we would have learned about in the course, but it was really kind of putting it into practice, and that's when you really, really learn how to work these elements.
All right, super. So conscious of time, so just if you can just do a last round of, say, if you had to give just a single piece of advice to for people about to start the course, what would that be? I'll keep going around the screen. So Daniel?
Yeah, just don't give up. It's a tough year, but it's totally worth it. And in hindsight, you will forget everything that was like really like bad about it, or like bad then in this situation. It's totally worth it. And I would recommend it to everyone that's interested in digital marketing or work in this area.
All right, thanks. Claude?
I would say the same as Daniel. I would definitely recommend this course to anyone, even with the slightest interest in marketing. I think it's super beneficial. I think one advice that I would give would be to do yourself a favor and start early. When you get a project, start on it. Don't leave it to last minute. I think when you start early, you actually get to enjoy it. So yeah, I just think be on top of it.
All right, thanks. Rob?
Yeah, to echo what Khaloud said, like get ready to work very hard, but it's so worth it. Like really keep on top of everything from the get-go. It's so valuable, and yeah, it's very, very worth it, especially now with the way things are going with digital. It's absolutely the way forward, and couldn't recommend it highly enough.
All right, thanks. Aisling?
Back up everything online, like everything. You don't know when your computer is going to shut down. Just have everything in nice organized folders. Get organized early. Get like that too. Get started early, and you never know when you might have to come back in the future on your marketing notes. You might be able to go back on it when you're working in the field as well, and just refresh your knowledge.
All right, thank you very much. So thank you very much for giving the time for joining us today. That was very, very useful.